Good morning. Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this June 18th, 2018. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. I'll try not to break my arm patting myself on the back, but I'm going viral on Twitter with the whole Phil Mickelson situation. I'm telling you, you got to check it out at Mr. Rogers99. I've got you guys covered for the next hour. All NBA action and then a little fantasy football to wrap things up. So the latest LeBron James rumors. Kawhi Leonard joining the Cavs. We'll see about that. Maybe a LeBron-Lonzo Ball trade. I'll get to that in a matter of moments. The latest NBA rumors in general. So the NBA draft, of course, coming up later this week, live from Brooklyn. And more Kawhi talk. And then NBA draft team needs. I'll go team by team. I'll tell you what needs to happen for each respective franchise as we take you through all the latest buzz across the association. So with that, let's get to the latest LeBron James rumors. We'll start things off with perhaps Kawhi Leonard joining LeBron James in Cleveland. So according to Cleveland.com, the Cavs are actively making calls for Kawhi Leonard, who of course reportedly wants the Spurs to trade him. More details on that timeline later, but in terms of a LeBron James-Kawhi Leonard pairing in Cleveland, it's possible. I personally feel it's unlikely. Now, Leonard prefers one of the LA teams, more specifically the Lakers over the Clippers. He is an LA native, of course, and trading for a player with 1 year left on his contract is a risk in of itself. But when we're talking about the Cleveland Cavs, which could be on the horizon for a rebuilding team, wouldn't make much sense for bringing in Kawhi Leonard. So obviously, if Kawhi goes to Cleveland, there is the promise from LeBron James that he is staying with the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's just the reality of the situation. Kawhi does not go to Cleveland if LeBron is not there. So if we hear more buzz about Kawhi going to Cleveland, if those rumors continue to build up, then that feeds that narrative that LeBron James is going to stay in Cleveland. I have said before on this very program that he is not going to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think he's joining the Los Angeles Lakers. And such, Kawhi Leonard joining the Los Angeles Lakers makes more sense for me personally. And I mentioned how devoting to a player who has 1 year left on his contract is a bit of a risk, kind of like what's happening with Paul George here, who could be headed for LA after a short stint with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that's kind of a comparable situation here that we have with Kawhi Leonard. And if you are the Cleveland Cavs, let's say they do make a trade for Kawhi, they bring him in. Do you really think he's going to stay after 2019? I don't think so. So that's the whole deal there. Kawhi perhaps joining the Cavs, I think it's unlikely. I'll go through some other teams later when we get to the NBA rumors section. All right, how about LeBron and Lonzo? Perhaps a trade in the works. So ESPN's Chris Haynes recently said that there's one piece that could be moved and could be the centerpiece, if you will, of this LeBron James Lakers trade. And he said the one constant that he has heard is Lonzo Ball. LeBron James's best path to reach his max earning potential would be by declining his player option with the Cavaliers and then getting them to agree to a sign and trade with another franchise. Now, Ball finished the year averaging 10 points, 7 assists, nearly 7 rebounds, and 1.7 steals per game. Now, there's some serious buzz, of course, of LeBron James going to the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard perhaps going to LA as well via a trade, and perhaps Paul George signs a max with the team. And we all know that the Lakers have 2 max contract slots there, perhaps for LeBron James and Paul George, respectively. But if LeBron, Paul, and Kawhi all go to the LA Lakers, we have a new contender in the West. Look out Rockets and look out Golden State Warriors, a team in the midst of its dynasty at this juncture with 3 NBA titles in the last 4 years. So this also feeds into the narrative that, and I'm talking about this rumor here, LeBron isn't the biggest fan of Lonzo Ball, and by association, perhaps LeVar Ball as well. So if there are rumors of Lonzo Ball being the centerpiece of a potential trade involving LeBron James, that tells me, and probably should tell you, the viewer at home, that LeBron probably doesn't want to team up with Lonzo Ball and be associated with LeVar Ball by some way, of course, by the team of the LA Lakers. So keep that in mind here as we continue to see more and more rumors about LeBron James going to the LA Lakers. I personally don't think it's going to happen via a sign and trade. I'll go through the scenario later in the show in terms of how the Lakers can have the trio of LeBron, Paul George, and Kawhi. It is indeed possible, financially speaking, so I'll talk about that later. I know a lot of you guys have been DMing me about perhaps more momentum for LeBron to LA. Can LA get Kawhi and Paul George as well? Can they have all three of those players on the team at once? The answer is yes. I'll tell you later in the show. All right, next rumor here about LeBron. Shaquille O'Neal recently gave his 2 cents on James, saying don't chase titles. So Shaq won 4 titles with the Lakers and Heat during his 19-year career. He told ESPN in a recent interview, now this is actually pretty candid, he spent his last few seasons in the NBA chasing another title, and so he wouldn't want LeBron James to kind of repeat that same move, I should say. So here's what Shaq said about LeBron. Quote, if I was him, I wouldn't be trying to get 4, 5, and 6 rings because it ain't going to matter. It's just something else to talk about, something else to add to the pages. He's a legend, talked about as who is the best between he and Michael Jordan, so he is set. So in a sense, Shaq is saying that what's the point of chasing titles when your legacy is already set? It's already in stone. It's already there. Whatever he gets the rest of his career is just essentially gravy. And I may have to respectfully disagree with the 4-time NBA champion Shaquille O'Neal here because we're still talking about LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. That's the point of this. Like, LeBron James wants more titles, so he can just shut up this argument. There was a time when we were arguing Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, and then eventually Tom Brady shut up that argument, and Peyton Manning, waltzed into the sunset with a Super Bowl victory and all that, but he wore down. Tom Brady is playing at an MVP level, and so LeBron James wants to shut the door in that same regard against Michael Jordan, and as long as LeBron continues to win more and more NBA Finals, that will bolster that resume and hopefully, in his mind, and perhaps Cavs' minds and whatever, shut down that MJ versus LeBron argument. So I understand where Shaq is coming from in saying that you don't want to get over the top here chasing NBA titles where you may regret the decisions that you make, but at the same time, LeBron James, believe it or not, guys, still has a chip on his shoulder. He still wants to win more titles because, in my opinion, his legacy is not set yet. And he wants to basically cement himself as the greatest basketball player of all time. I think he is trending in that direction. And if he wins a couple more NBA titles, he will cement himself, no doubt about it. He probably should win 3 around there the rest of his career, in my opinion. I firmly believe that. If he goes and makes the right decision in terms of his next team, I think he very much can win 3 more NBA championships. All right, so we got Kevin chiming in on the Cam Rogers Show. LeBron, Leonard, PG equals championships. Kevin, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Don't worry, I'll get to a scenario later where all 3 of those players will be on the Los Angeles Lakers, so stay tuned for that one. Keep hitting me up in the comment section, by the way, folks. You could be featured here on the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. And thanks to FanDuel for supporting the show today. It's an awesome week to sign up on FanDuel. Make your first deposit of any amount, and you'll receive $10 free. Free money, folks. That's the deal from FanDuel and Chat Sports. Awesome World Cup and Major League Baseball contests taking place for new players. FanDuel.com/chatsports to sign up and get $10 free with that first deposit. And we thank them for sponsoring the show here today. Let's continue along with the latest LeBron James rumors as he headed back to the Miami Heat. Well, Miami Heat forward Udonis Haslem revealed that LeBron James actually returned to South Florida before his NBA Finals return to spend time with Haslem and Dwayne Wade. Interesting. However, any relocation to Miami was not part of the discussion, and this is not shocking considering LeBron was prepping for an NBA championship title. So, yeah, that was not part of the discussion. Now, Haslem did say he's sure the organization would love to have him, and the Heat have been thrown around as a potential dark horse team to bring in LeBron James, but I personally just don't see it. Here's how I rank it, and I rank it in terms of tiers of potential teams for LeBron James. The LA Lakers are the hard favorite in my eyes. After that, you can incorporate the Philadelphia 76ers. Perhaps you can throw in the Houston Rockets. I think that's tier 2. And then tier 3, the likes of the Boston Celtics, the San Antonio Spurs. And if you want to go down even further, yeah, maybe you could throw in the Golden State Warriors if they make some serious trade, which would be insane for them to do. And then the Miami Heat. So that's kind of where I'm at. I rank LeBron's teams in terms of tiers. And there are minor to major gaps in between these tiers. So which team should LeBron sign with? Hit me up in this reaction poll. Give me a like for the Rockets, a laughing face for those Lakers, a heart for the San Antonio Spurs, and a wow face for another team out there. So be sure to let me know what you think. Explain upon yourselves in the comments section as well. All right, well, LeBron channel his inner MJ and play a little baseball. So how about this? This is kind of fun. The Lehigh Iron Pigs are actively recruiting LeBron James, saying if James joins the team, they'll immediately hire LeBron James Jr. as their social media director. So yeah, that's happening right now, and this isn't the first time that the Iron Pigs have been trying to recruit him. There's been billboards and all this stuff, just like what teams out there in the NBA are doing to get LeBron James to join their franchise, or not the team specifically, but fans or companies or whatever the case may be. Now, of course, Michael Jordan, he did it. He played baseball professionally back in 1994. I don't think LeBron James is going to do that, folks. It's just a little fun rumor to talk about, so don't get mad at me in the comment section. I'm not saying LeBron is going to go play baseball, but hey, maybe at some point in his afterlife, after his NBA career, he could. Who knows? All right, so keep that in mind. Be sure to sign up today. FanDuel.com/chatsports, folks. Receive $10 for free when you make your first deposit. Message us your username in the comments section on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live, and we will feature you guys right here on the show. And I'll be starting up another golf game this week for the Travelers Championship up there in Cromwell, Connecticut. So be sure to give me your username and you can be a part of the contest. And if you win, you're getting a shout out on the show. So there's nothing better than that. All right, how about LeBron James to the Washington Wizards? How about that for a transition? I wouldn't put much stock into this. So Fansided did list Washington as an under-the-radar spot for LeBron. And once upon a time, they were the favorites to land Kevin Durant way back when. So, I mean, they've chased their fair share of high-profile athletes in their history. And, of course, the Wizards have a couple of good guards in Bradley Beal and John Wall. LeBron is very involved in terms of politics as well. But LeBron James isn't the biggest fan of the 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Of course, LeBron publicly saying that he wouldn't go to the White House even if he were invited if his team won the NBA Finals. Sounds like the Golden State Warriors aren't going to the White House either. It begs the question, and I want you guys weighing in right here, right now. Would you visit the White House if President Trump invited you? I think it's a very real question at this juncture because I'm seeing people saying no. They would not visit the White House. I'm seeing people that are saying, yes, I would absolutely love to visit the White House. It's an honor and a historic moment to go and see. And when you hear athletes saying that they wouldn't go even if they were invited, it makes me wonder what the general public feels. So that's why I have this weigh-in. I want you guys commenting. Let me know in the comments section below about that. All right, so that is the latest surrounding LeBron James here on the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. If you didn't hear me at the top of the show, check me out on Twitter. I'm telling you, I went viral with a golf video about Phil Mickelson. You probably heard about it over the weekend. Maybe you saw my tweet embedded in an article or whatever the case may be. Be sure to check it out. All right, let's get to the latest NBA rumors, more specifically surrounding Kawhi Leonard and the NBA draft. So for Kawhi, yes, he does indeed want a trade from the San Antonio Spurs onto somebody else. The first to report this, the San Antonio Express News, And then Yahoo Sports added that Leonard has, quote, grown uncomfortable with the Spurs, leading to his reported desire to play elsewhere. Now, Leonard favors a trade to Los Angeles, more specifically the Lakers, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind the Clippers either. The Clippers are reportedly interested in Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers have a couple of good high draft picks in that first round, by the way, so maybe they package those for a potential Kawhi trade. Keep that in mind. Now, people close to Leonard reportedly actually want him to go to the New York Knicks, and I don't see that as a tempting spot for Kawhi. LA makes a lot of sense, especially the Lakers. They have the salary cap space to do it and can probably sign Kawhi after the 2019 season when he becomes a free agent. And then you have perhaps LeBron James joining the team and Paul George. So it's a tempting scenario if you are Kawhi Leonard. He's also an LA native too. The Celtics and 76ers have been rumored to make an offer, or at least actively making calls for Kawhi Leonard as well. Keep an eye on the Kings and their number 2 overall selection in an effort to acquire Leonard. They are reportedly desperate for a star out there, and if they get Kawhi, he would certainly fit the bill. My only worry about that is, does Kawhi want to stay in Sacramento after his 1-year stint with the team? I don't think so, personally. I think he really wants to go to LA. Like, even if he goes to Cleveland, even if he goes to Sacramento, he's going to want to go to LA at some point. So keep that in mind. And Kawhi, of course, is a San Diego State product, and as I mentioned, from LA. So we'll see what happens. We'll get to the LA Lakers now, and the Lakers can indeed get Leonard, Paul George, and LeBron James on the roster. So here is the scenario. I'm going to break it down for you guys. The Lakers could deal Brandon Ingram for Kawhi straight up if the Spurs are willing to do that. Or it could be one of Kyle Kuzma or LiAngelo Ball along with Brandon Ingram. They'd also have to include Luol Deng's contract as well because, well, that's not exactly something that the Lakers want. So with Deng's full salary, Julius Randle's cap hold, and a trade of Ingram straight up for Leonard, who waives his trade kicker, by the way, the Lakers would have up to $34 million in spending power. Obviously, not enough for LeBron and Paul George, so we have to go a little step further here. Trading Deng outright with multiple draft considerations without returning a player would push the Lakers' available cap space to $51.1 million. So if James chooses to join Leonard, right, in LA, the team would still have roughly $16.6 million to spend to round out the roster while retaining Julius Randle. Now, without Randle, okay, you with me here still? That number climbs to about $28.2 million. Nearly enough for that $30.3 million that Paul George would be eligible to receive in free agency. So if Paul George is willing to just take that little sliver of cut in terms of his paycheck, there is a very real scenario that Kawhi and LeBron and Paul George are playing for the Los Angeles Lakers, and that, folks, is a title-contending team. That is a warrior-killing team. That is a rocket-killing team. That is also a team that basically makes the East an afterthought, right? I mean, who's going to emerge out of the East? Who cares? Maybe the 76ers, probably the Boston Celtics. It ain't going to matter. It's all going to be about the West if this scenario happens. So one more time, this is what has to happen. Kawhi, Brandon Ingram, trade straight up. All right, then you trade Luol Deng and outright with multiple draft considerations. That would push the Lakers' available cap space to $51.1 million eventually. If James chooses to join Leonard in LA, that would equate to $16.6 million left. So then you essentially have to be without Julius Randle. That number eventually climbs to about $28.2 million, in which case, you know, maybe Paul George takes a little bit of a pay cut and he joins Kawhi and LeBron. So that's the situation right now. Is it a real possibility? Sure. Do I think it's going to happen? Maybe. I certainly think LeBron and Paul George are going to LA. Keep in mind that Kawhi could get there as well. All right, folks, you guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. Shout out to the 19 members of the audience who signed up for FanDuel last week and joined my private U.S. Open contest. Shout out to the winner. You see him right there. Joe Govea. He dominated the field. He had Brooks Koepka in his lineup. Of course, Brooks winning the U.S. Open in back-to-back fashion. The first time we saw that since Curtis Strange back in 1988 and 1989. And a special shout out to Johnny on Twitter. Johnny beat me in the contest as well. He was talking smack. I said, no way, you're going to beat me. He took me down. Johnny, I'm doing another game this week. All right, so best 2 out of 3, my man. Sign up now at FanDuel.com/chatsports. Make a deposit, and you will instantly get $10 free. FanDuel.com/chatsports. Use promo code chatsports as well. And we thank FanDuel for coming along for the ride here this week. All right, let's continue along with the latest Kawhi rumors. And we've got the Kings perhaps to acquire him. So I mentioned this earlier in the LeBron James segment that the Kings are firmly in the running for trading the number 2 overall pick for Kawhi if it fits the bill. Now, Yahoo Sports' Chris Mannix reported the Kings are desperate for a star. And I personally feel that Kawhi Leonard would qualify as a star. Now, Kings leadership is actually looking for a quick turnaround with this franchise. I assume I'm going to get a lot of laughing comments in the section on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live because the Kings want a quick turnaround. Let's be honest, folks. It's going to take a little more time than a quick turnaround. So the real question is, does Kawhi really want to go to Sacramento? And it may not be up to him if the Kings come to the Spurs and give them an offer they can't refuse. But here's the situation. Kawhi will just play the 1 year with the Kings and then be done with it and go into free agency and go sign with the Lakers, go sign with somebody else. So the Kings should really think about this decision here. They have to do their homework and make sure that Kawhi Leonard really wants to play on that team. And we know he wants to play on the likes of the Lakers or the Clippers, not the Spurs, obviously. And so how highly does Kawhi hold the Kings in his own regard? That's how I wonder, and that's something you guys should wonder as we enter draft night. So keep that in mind. All right, how about the Suns? Sounds like they won't trade their number 1 overall pick for Kawhi. So the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor wrote that some in the league believe that Phoenix general manager Ryan McDonough would explore the idea of trading the top pick in the draft. However, the Arizona Republic shot down that idea recently. The report noted that the Suns' most likely involvement in a Leonard trade would be actually to act as a facilitator in a 3-team deal. So the Suns getting Kawhi Leonard is not the scenario here. Now, I personally am not surprised about this recent reporting because the Suns-Kawhi pairing doesn't really add up for me. The team has missed the playoffs in 8 consecutive seasons and has not won more than 24 games since 2014 to 2015. It clearly needs to add talent, and we're talking long-term talent, not just a stopgap option here where Kawhi Leonard is on the team for a year and he says, see ya, Phoenix, I'm going to L.A. Like, that's just not a smart investment if you're the Phoenix Suns and GM Ryan McDonough, so he's got to keep that in mind. And, yeah, I mean, even if he does go to Phoenix and plays for a year, do you really think he's going to stay? I mean, it's the same argument with the Sacramento Kings here. So, as we approach draft night, which, by the way, should be very chaotic, I think a lot of teams are going to be active in terms of trades. Kawhi Leonard could be at the center of all the rumors, and he already is, but he could even more so by the time June 21st comes around. So we shall see. Where do you think Kawhi will play next season? Be sure to hit me up on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. And next up on the list in non-Kawhi Leonard rumors are the Nuggets shopping Kenneth Faried. So the Nuggets have an interesting young core led by Nikola Jokic there and Jamal Murray as well. And right now they have forward Kenneth Faried on an expensive contract, expiring, might I add. And they may want to clear him out to make some cap space to target another contributor on that team. Denver is reportedly aggressively shopping Kenneth Faried as we stand right now, and they may be including that number 14 overall draft pick as some sort of package here. Faried is owed $13.8 million in the final year of his contract for 2018 to 2019, and reportedly the Atlanta Hawks would be willing to take that salary into their cap space here in exchange for an asset from the Nuggets. And Faried simply last year just could not protect the rim very well for the Nuggets. He wasn't very good. He played in just 32 games last season, averaging 5.9 points and 4.8 rebounds. So with an expiring contract and the Nuggets with the number 14 overall selection, it's no surprise that they are in the process of trying to shop this guy and make a little package deal there. So we'll see if that actually goes down. Next up, Aaron Gordon. Is he getting a max deal? Easily the most talented player on that Magic roster, and he's entering restricted free agency. Newly hired Magic head coach Steve Clifford recently visited Aaron Gordon in San Jose as part of an effort here to kind of get to know his players, which makes sense, and I'm sure this actually came up in discussion. Now, for Gordon, injuries limited him to 58 games this past season, but he actually posted the best totals of his career. 17.6 points per game, 7.9 rebounds per game for the Orlando Magic, and as such, he wants to get paid because of the momentum that he is carrying from last season based on those stats. So we'll see what happens there. All right, next up here, Grizzlies and Michael Porter Jr. These two have been firmly rumored together. According to USA Today, the Memphis Grizzlies are seriously considering selecting Porter with the number 4 overall pick here in the 2018 NBA draft. And Porter just played 3 games at Missouri for a total of 53 minutes here. He was set to work out last Friday in front of NBA teams, but that was canceled because of a back injury. Now, there could be a little bit of a mini slide here for MPJ because of these back issues and all the such, but he's not going past number 7 because the Chicago Bulls will select him there if he is available. That I can tell you. So, mini slide, sure, because a lot of people thought, well, maybe MPJ could go in the top 3 of the NBA draft. I don't think that's going to be the case now because of this back issue. So with that, who will be selected as the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft? I don't think it'll be Michael Porter Jr., but if you think so, be sure to let me know in comments because he's not an option here. We got DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley III, Luka Doncic, and Jaren Jackson Jr. So give me a like, laughing face, heart, and wow face, respectively. All right, let's take a look at Trevor Ariza here. He's reportedly seeking $50 to $60 million. So spent the last 4 seasons with the Rockets, set to be a free agent this summer, 32-year-old forward. Looking for a big-time contract over the next 4 to 5 years, according to Rockets Wire. Now, Ariza is a solid two-way wing. He averaged 11.7 points and 4.4 rebounds per game last season. Not a lot of people talked about him in terms of the national media because, of course, James Harden, Chris Paul, they steal those headlines. He did sign a 4-year, $32 million contract with Houston back in July of 2014. Ariza has spent 14 years in the NBA and won a championship with the Lakers back in the 2008 to 2009 campaign. So Trevor Ariza looking to get paid big time. We shall see if that indeed happens. All right, folks, thanks to FanDuel for sponsoring the Cam Rogers Show today. It's an awesome week to sign up and play on FanDuel, folks. World Cup and Major League Baseball contest for new players only. Play for real cash while you learn the ropes and get $10 free when you make your first deposit. Use the website fanduel.com/chatsports. We don't haze rookies. Get it done today and you will receive that $10 bonus. We thank you, FanDuel, for sponsoring the show here today. All right, more NBA rumors here. How about LiAngelo working out for the Warriors? Will the Warriors draft him? So he worked out for them back on Friday. Lonzo guarantees that LiAngelo will get drafted. Ball is actually feeling pretty confident in himself. LiAngelo, more specifically, quote, "Going overseas helped me more, in my opinion. In college, I didn't get the playing time I thought I'd get, so I was able to develop better overseas." Now, the general consensus is LiAngelo is going to go undrafted. And I think that's going to be the situation here. I don't think he's getting drafted. If he does, it'd be a great story, be great for the headlines, great for the talking heads like yours truly here on this very program, but I don't think it's going to go down. So will LiAngelo Ball get drafted? I want to hear from you. Give me a heart for yes, a like for a no way, and be sure to explain upon yourselves as well in the comments section. So there you go. All right, folks, you guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. I am Cam Rogers. Check me out on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Talked about the NBA draft. It's coming up June 21st, live from Brooklyn, New York. I'm going team by team here, folks. Team needs all the way across the board. And with that, we will start off with the squad that has the #1 overall pick, the Phoenix Suns. So, picks 1, 16, 31, and 59, respectively. Me personally, it'd be pretty stunning to see the Suns go anywhere but DeAndre Ayton here. But I won't rule out Luka Doncic or even Marvin Bagley III as a potential #1 overall selection. Now, the word is the Suns have also explored ways to acquire another pick later in the lottery, potentially packaging the 16 and 31 selections as part of that to try and target a guard or wing. Now, the Suns can get creative here on draft night. They have Milwaukee's protected 2019 first rounder and Miami's 2021 first rounder in hand as a bargaining chip. So the Suns, with a #1 overall selection, may not be selecting #1 overall. They could be selecting it later in the draft if they get really, really active. Keep an eye on Gilgeous-Alexander and Aaron Holiday, by the way, for later selections, particularly at #16 overall for those Phoenix Suns. But it's DeAndre, it's DeAndre, it's DeAndre. Get that center, get that franchise player. He could be the face of that team for many years to come, and then move on with the draft. Do not get cute and get Luka Doncic or Marvin Bagley III, although honestly, there's a better argument to be made to get Bagley over Doncic. I am not a Doncic guy at #1 overall. I'm just not. So it's Ayton or it's Bagley in my opinion, and I think the play is going to be DeAndre Ayton. And the Phoenix Suns are not in any rush here, folks, to become an NBA title contender in the 2018-2019 season. They're just not. So they're playing the long game a little bit here. All right, let's get to the next team, the Sacramento Kings. They have picks 2 and 37, respectively. And in all reality, they just need to go best player available here. High ceiling kind of talent is preferred. Bagley is there at #2, assuming Ayton goes to #1. But I think Luka Doncic could be the selection there as well. Yes, De'Aaron Fox is supposed to be the future at point guard, but who knows? They also have Justin Jackson and Bogdanovich and Buddy Hield on the wing as well. Michael Porter would be a sneaky risk at #2 overall, considering his back issues. I'm not going to rule it out completely here. And the Kings have also been tied to trading down in this draft, which I could see considering they have a lot of holes to fill. So maybe they trade out of that #2 slot, all right, and then accumulate more picks there. They only have 2 for this NBA draft, so keep that in mind. All right, let's go to the Atlanta Hawks. They could come out of this draft with the best performance among all the teams. So you want to talk about long game here. The Hawks are prepping for an extended rebuild. That is just the reality of the situation for Atlanta. John Collins is really the only young piece they're truly committed to. Entering the draft with 4 of the first 34 selections in hand, I think puts Atlanta in position to be active come draft night. So keep an eye on the Suns, keep an eye on the Hawks here. I love Jaren Jackson at #3. Give me Jaren, all right? He needs to go to Atlanta. I think that's a good fit for them. Also, in terms of trades and activity here for the Hawks, keep an eye on Dennis Schroeder for a trade. He's owed $46.5 million through 2021, which has made him difficult to deal thus far, but maybe not on draft night, especially with the draft capital that the Atlanta Hawks have. But in the end, I think Jaren Jackson is the guy at #3. I'm kind of doing a quasi-mock draft as I go throughout these teams here. I think it's Ayton, I think it's Bagley, and then I think it's Jaren Jackson Jr., which means Luka Doncic is available there at #4. So that's how I see things kind of panning out for Atlanta. Long-term rebuild, patience, and perhaps a Dennis Schroeder trade. Let's go to the Memphis Grizzlies. They select #4 and 32, respectively. And I wouldn't say the Grizzlies are in full tank mode, not as long as Mike Conley and Marc Gasol are playing well enough. And Memphis has been tied to trading back and tying in Chandler Parsons into the equation for perhaps some sort of trade here. I think it's Luka Doncic at number 4. I think he's available. I think the Grizzlies get him with Gasol and Conley still in the fold and still playing out the peaks of their career right now. Maybe the Grizzlies could be a low-key contending team if Doncic really does pan out well for them here. I think he'd start right next to Conley on day 1. Whoever the Memphis Grizzlies draft at number 4, I think is starting on day 1. That's just where they're at right now. So that's the deal with them. How about the Dallas Mavericks? So they have selections 5, 33, and 54. So the narrative with Dallas is that Mark Cuban is ready for this team to be competitive yet again. And so there could be some aggressive moves by way of the Dallas Mavericks leadership. They are armed with cap space and have only Dennis Smith, last year's first rounder, tied up beyond 2020. Now, there's some buzz that the Mavs aren't completely sold on Mo Bamba at number 5 overall. So keep an eye on this name. Free agent DeMarcus Cousins may be headed to the Dallas Mavericks. I'm just saying he may. Why take a center at number 5 overall who's, more of a defensive guy, has his fair share of risks, talking about Mo Bamba when you can go out and get DeMarcus Cousins, albeit coming off an injury, but still, he's a solidified player. You'd rather go with that guy over Mo Bamba at number 5 overall. So wouldn't even rule out Dallas trading back and grabbing a Kevin Knox, Mikal Bridges in that scenario there. All right, let's take a look at the Orlando Magic. Selection 6, 35, and 41. Orlando isn't tied down to much of anything on the roster long term beyond last year's first rounder, Jonathan Isaac. So John Hammond is known for drafting based off of physical talent. I think that's the path they take. They hired a defensive-minded coach in Steve Clifford, too. So this screams Mo Bamba at number 6 overall for me. And I would not be surprised to see Orlando go ahead and get Mo. I understand Orlando needs scoring and needs scoring badly. But they have a couple other selections, 35 and 41. They can get a couple of good guards, too, in those slots. So I'm not all that concerned if they do indeed go with Mo at number 6. So that's how I see things with the Orlando Magic. How about the Chicago Bulls? All right, so the Bulls possess a good young core, that we know, and they may just trade away the number 7 pick to a team that's in love with Michael Porter Jr. or Trae Young. Now, the biggest need is center, who can take the reins from Robin Lopez there. Wendell Carter should be there at number 7. I've been hearing from the Bulls faithful out there that they don't want Wendell Carter. They would love Michael Porter Jr. And if you guys saw my mock draft, I have Michael Porter Jr. going to the Bulls at number 7. That is best case scenario for them. Would be really great value. Trae Young did work out for the Bulls. I don't think they actually take him, but I wouldn't rule out Mo Bamba if the Mavs really don't like him and the Magic pass on him as well. The Bulls are solid at guard with Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine, respectively. So going Trae Young probably wouldn't make much sense. They should just trade back and get a Kevin Knox or whatever the case may be. Maybe a Colin Sexton if he's available later in that first round. All right, let's go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They select number 8 overall, and it's all about LeBron, first of all. That's their primary focus. And maybe the Cavs know the future of LeBron James by the time draft night comes around. Who knows? There's only a few days left for that to come to fruition. But if LeBron is leaving, then the Cavs will be in full rebuilding mode, and they will be selecting number 8 overall. That also means, by the way, that Kevin Love, among others, will be on the trade block. That's according to ESPN, a recent report that came out a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. Now, the Cavs have a definite need for a point guard. And if Trae Young is there, I think you get him at number 8. He'll be tempting. Maybe Colin Sexton. Maybe they go Wendell Carter, Kevin Knox, Mikal Bridges. They all make sense here. All names to watch for. Could be a dark horse team to get Michael Porter Jr., but I've said he's not going past the Bulls. If he does somehow, maybe he goes to the Cavs. All right, let's talk the New York Knicks here. They are armed with the number 9 and 36 selections, and they've begun utilizing Frank Ntilikina as an off-the-ball guy more often. And Kristaps Porzingis is recovering from his ACL injury, but still the long-term centerpiece and all of that. So Ntilikina, Porzingis, those are the core guys there. And then the Knicks reportedly have very real interest in Trae Young. And I'm just going off the reports. I'm not saying that they do. I'm just going off of the evidence that's out there on the interwebs, Knicks fans, so don't get mad at me. And it's possible that Trae Young is available at number 9. And then with that, maybe they go ahead and get him. They also have a need on the wing. They're said to be high on Mikal Bridges, so maybe they go with Mikal instead. Kevin Knox is a viable option as well, albeit it will take more time for him to develop compared to a Trae Young. And they should have a good amount of solid options at number 36 overall as well. So the Knicks could go in many different directions here. I'm going through all of the team needs for the 2018 NBA Draft. And we're sponsored by FanDuel here on the Cam Rogers Show. Sign up today, FanDuel.com/chatsports, and receive free entries and a bonus on your first deposit for immediate play. Message us your username in the comments section here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. We will feature you on the program. If you want in on my golf contest for this week, be sure to leave your username. I'll hit you up. And if you win, you get a shout out on the show. All right, let's go to the Philadelphia 76ers. They are well equipped, 10, 26, 38, 39, 56, and 60 respectively. All eyes are on the 76ers as they look past the Brian Colangelo era here and as they try to make a run at LeBron James. Now, they could use some more playmaking ability. That's kind of the best way I can kind of characterize their main need. So maybe Trae Young is attractive there, number 10. Maybe a Colin Sexton. Mikal Bridges provides some good wing help as well, which the 76ers are reportedly looking for. All right, so that's the rundown with them. But they could be big-time traders in this draft as well with the amount of draft capital that they have. All right, how about Charlotte? So they select 11 and 55. Veteran-heavy rotation that could be in the playoff picture if healthy. And so Charlotte may be wise looking for the best prospect available whom they can kind of mold. Now, Mikal or Miles Bridges could be good options if the Hornets want someone closer to filling out that rotation. But I think the smarter play would go maybe Kevin Knox at number 11 overall and groom him as a future core piece to that team. All right, let's take a look at the Los Angeles Clippers. They have selections 12 and 13. This team just needs upside. So they could make a blockbuster type trade because Doc Rivers typically doesn't lean on rookies, and it seems like LA is very serious about trying to find the right deal here. Maybe it involves Kawhi Leonard. Now, top exec Lawrence Frank attended Michael Porter's pro day, so there's some interest there. Lonnie Walker or Colin Sexton are potential options as well for the Clippers. The status of DeAndre Jordan is worth watching as well. He reportedly wants to go to the Houston Rockets, so we'll see what happens there. Should the Clippers pursue Kawhi Leonard? Let me know in comments here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. You're watching the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. All right, let's take a look at the Nuggets. So, possible big money extension for Nikola Jokic. That could be coming soon. There are rumors that the Nuggets could look to use number 14 to move off an expiring contract, namely Kenneth Faried, and trade down in the draft as well at the same time. So if the Nuggets do want to go ahead and grab a good ball handler in the draft, which makes sense for me, and kind of allow Jamal Murray to play off some screens more, maybe Miles Bridges at number 14 overall. And I think Denver gives him a hard look there. All right, let's take a look at the Washington Wizards. 15 and 44 respectively. It wouldn't be surprising to see them dangle the number 15 overall pick potentially to create some cap relief. They're in win-now mode. Their entire rotation is coming back. Wall, Beal, Otto Porter, they're all signed for the long haul. This could be a good draft for the Wizards to kind of think about raw projects that they can kind of mold for the future, but they're trying to win now, so maybe they trade and try to create some salary cap relief in that process. All right, let's take a look at the Bucks, selecting at number 17. Reportedly looking at solely perimeter players. So the Bucks like a dual guard kind of lineup with Giannis playing on the ball so much. So Jerome Robinson, Grayson Allen, Troy Brown could all make sense there at number 17, maybe Aaron Holiday as well. Now, the Spurs. Let's take a look at them. Dark horse team to land LeBron James. Now, they should get more versatile on the perimeter, in my opinion. Find another prospect with room to grow at number 18 overall. One name to watch, just mentioned him, Troy Brown. He isn't a ball hog. He distributes the ball really well. I think he fits into that offensive scheme for San Antonio. Maybe adding a skilled guard who can shoot the three well, like a Kevin Huerter from Maryland. Shout out to the Terps. Could make some sense as well. And then Kawhi. It's all about Kawhi. Keep an eye on him and what happens with that trade. Let's go to the Minnesota T-Wolves now. This is a very important draft for Minnesota. Andrew Wiggins' max extension kicks in this summer. The Wolves are particularly strapped to add talent through free agency. So with that, they got to have a good draft with picks number 20 and 48. I could see the T-Wolves trading away that number 20 selection, given that Thibodeau doesn't like playing rookies very much, kind of like Doc Rivers, kind of the same mentality there. So DiVincenzo, Grayson Allen, Bruce Brown, all names to watch there for Minnesota. How about Utah? So Donovan Mitchell seems to be the real deal with this team. They tend to favor, the Jazz do, unselfish, defensive-minded type of role players here. So watch out for that. Kevin Huerter would be a nice partner with Mitchell and Ricky Rubio there. There's not a lot of great front court ability at number 21 overall, so keep that in mind. So the Jazz may have to trade or just grab a Grayson Allen or Jerome Robinson and be done with it. So that's kind of the situation there with the Utah Jazz. How about Indiana? Taking a look at picks number 23 and 50 for them. The Pacers could really make that next step by adding the correct role player. So very important draft for them, whether it's finding a young point guard such as Darren Collison, enters a contract year. And maybe they find a guy that can help in some defensive responsibility as well to kind of ease up on Victor Oladipo there. So Miles Turner, Oladipo, Collison, these are good players for Indiana. If they add the right player via the draft, players to be more exact, they can make a big-time run. All right, let's take a look at Portland now with pick number 24. The Blazers need some perimeter defense and a player who can contribute right away. They aren't in the greatest financial situation here. Plenty of viable options at number 24, DeAnthony Melton, Bruce Brown in particular, with Lillard or McCollum on that roster already. So a couple of good players there to go along with the core players that they already have. All right, let's talk the Lakers, 25 and 47. So this could be one of the more interesting off seasons for the Lakers in recent memory, in my opinion, and they're going to be serious players in free agency. So the draft is kind of like 1B, with free agency being 1A for the Lakers as they try to make a move for LeBron, for Paul George, and perhaps try to make a trade for Kawhi Leonard. There's a rumor out there they made a promise to Kevin Huerter at number 25, so bear that in mind. But they've also been tied to Mitchell Robinson too. So that's the lowdown there with the LA Lakers. As you take a look at the team needs here on the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. Sign up today, FanDuel.com/chatsports, and receive free entries and a bonus on your first deposit for immediate play. Message us your username here on the comment section on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live, and we will feature you right here on the program, FanDuel.com/chatsports. All right, let's go to the Boston Celtics here, selecting at number 27. I don't have much to say about them because they're just fine. Maybe they get a center, maybe it's a Mo Wagner, or maybe it's an Amari Spellman. Whoever they get, I think it's gravy for Boston because they have a good core with Kyrie coming back. They have Gordon Hayward as well. So I think they're just fine. So not too many worries about them in the draft. Same can be said here about the Golden State Warriors. They have a ton of stars that need to get paid. So the draft strategy is to find inexpensive talent, kind of fill out that roster. That's really the lowdown with Golden State. Brooklyn Nets, they have selections 29, 40, and 45. They're on a patient rebuild at this juncture. So They're just going to go best player available at 29 and probably going to be the case at 40 and 45, or they trade up. But that's really the rundown with them. How about Detroit? The Pistons have just their second rounder following that Blake Griffin trade, you may recall. And they got the entire core returning under contract. Detroit's biggest need is on the wing. So whomever they get at number 42, I think the Pistons are likely going to roster that player, in my opinion. All right, so the Pistons are there. Let's take a look at the Houston Rockets. They select at number 46. They're just focused on keeping the band together, in my opinion, and perhaps bringing in LeBron James. I'll just say this about Houston. They like their high IQ role players that can shoot the three. Okay, so keep that in mind as they select number 46. Miami Heat, not much to say because they don't have a draft pick. But I will say this. They might trade up into that second round. Now, they are known to do a fairly good job with their undrafted free agents and making them into good players. So, very real possibility that happens for Miami. New Orleans has one selection. They hope to keep DeMarcus Cousins and Rondo for another postseason run here. Expect the Pelicans to find some sort of versatile wing here. That's where I kind of envision New Orleans going with their 51st overall selection in this draft. So that's kind of where we're at with them. You are watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. Let's take a look at Oklahoma City now. And a friendly reminder, it's $10 when you sign up on FanDuel. It's fanduel.com/chatsports. Oklahoma City, 53 and 57 respectively, with 2 late second-round selections. They have some flexibility to gamble on some upside without taking too much risk here. Russell Westbrook's max contract is going to kick in. The Thunder have a need to keep cap space open to try and re-sign Paul George, and they're trying. You know, let's not just say that Paul George is going to the LA Lakers. There is a very legit rumor out there that Oklahoma City is trying to make a big-time run at retaining Paul George. So that's their priority right now, although they do have a couple of selections to play with. All right, then the Toronto Raptors, they don't own a draft pick, but they are willing to buy a second rounder if there is a player available that they like. So that is the recent reporting out there in regards to them. It's unclear if they'll be able to keep Fred VanVleet, but it's possible Toronto shakes up its roster this summer via a trade. Again, don't be surprised to see the Raptors move up into that second round as we enter the NBA draft. It's June 21st from Brooklyn, New York. We'll have it here on Chat Sports. And you're watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. We've got my guy Mitchell Renz, fantasy analyst here on the program. Mitchell, welcome. On Friday, you did your top fantasy running backs. It's time to do your top 5 fantasy quarterbacks. And let's go to Mr. Cam Newton to start things off.
Let's start it off with my man, Superman. And I mean, there's a reason why we call him Cam. He's only missed 3 games in the last 7 years. And when you look at fantasy football, I want a quarterback who can run, and that's exactly what this guy does. Career high in rush attempts last year, career high in rushing yards, 754. He's the only player, Cam, in the NFL since 2011 with at least 5 rushing touchdowns. There's no other running back to do it. It's Cam Newton, and that's how dynamic he is. And when he can run and he can get those rushing touchdowns for you, that's what separates him in fantasy football. Over the second half of the last season, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 499 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. Plus, they added DJ Moore. Love me some Cam Newton.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this wide receiver core, and it's kind of funny for me to say that because when you think Panthers, you don't think crazy aerial attack, but low-key, the wide receiver core is going to be pretty good. You got Greg Olsen there at tight end as well, and if you want to think about from a daily fantasy perspective when you guys are playing your FanDuel games, Cam Newton's going to be a very tempting option.
Oh, yeah, because he has those boom weeks, and when you want to make that money on FanDuel, this is who you need. You need Cam Newton because when he goes for that 100 yards rushing, a touchdown, and then throws for 300 yards, yeah, you're going to win some money.
All right, so Cam Newton is there at number 5, Mitchell. Let's take a look at number 4 here on the list, and you have a guy who was on pace to perhaps being in the MVP conversation until he got hurt. Deshaun Watson checking in at number 4.
Yeah, Watson was an absolute monster. So a QBR of 81.9, that led the NFL through Week 7 last year. It's actually the highest QBR of any quarterback in his first 7 career games over the past 10 seasons. Watson was ranked first in rushing yards among quarterbacks and was tied for first in passing touchdowns. He had a touchdown rate, Cam, of 9.3%.
Unreal.
In the last 42 years, only Deshaun Watson and Peyton Manning in 2004 have had a touchdown rate of over 9%. And he didn't have a single game with over 34 attempts. Like, he was doing it at such a high rate. He was unbelievable. DeAndre Hopkins was incredible. Heck, Will Fuller, 11 catches, 7 touchdowns before Watson got hurt. Insane. Deshaun Watson, oh man, I can't wait to see what he does in his sophomore season.
All right, big thing to watch there with Houston, that offensive line. How will that pass protection hold up there for the Texans? But in terms of FanDuel, while you guys are playing your games in the 2018 season, Deshaun Watson, he's going to be expensive, but he will be a worthy purchase. I'll say that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to number 3 here on the list. But before we do, you guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. Head on to FanDuel.com/chatsports. You earn $10 free when you sign up. So head on to that URL at the bottom of your screen, FanDuel.com/chatsports. And we'll be talking about FanDuel here throughout this fantasy ranking segment with Mitchell Renz. Let's take a look at number 3 here on the list, the reigning MVP himself, Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from Tom Brady, so he led the NFL in passing yards last season with 4,577. And when people tell me, oh, he's going to lose a step, he's getting old, the dude threw for 505 yards in the Super Bowl. And over the last 3 years, 96 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Like, does that sound like a guy who's falling off? Doesn't to me. He lost Brandon Cooks, and he won't have Edelman for the first 4 weeks. But guess what? I don't care. This guy does it every single year with whatever you give him. He's the GOAT for a reason, and that's why he's my number 3 quarterback this year.
And, of course, something to bear in mind, the suspension there for Julian Edelman. Tough break. Brandon Cooks is no longer there. Rob Gronkowski monitored retirement for some time. So some off-the-field stuff that I'm thinking about with Tom Brady. And, Mitch, he would be an interesting contrarian play because I think in FanDuel he's going to be one of the more expensive quarterbacks out there. If you pay up highly for a quarterback, you're already differentiating yourself.
Exactly, and I think over the first 4 weeks, he's a guy that I'm going to look at. People are sleeping on Jordan Matthews. Jordan Matthews is a great receiver for the Eagles his first 2 years, 8 touchdowns in both those years. And I think people are going to sleep on Tom because he's not going to have Edelman. All of the drama that we've had this offseason with the Patriots. Again, don't sleep on Tom Brady. I don't know how you can.
All right, let's take a look at number 2, Mitchell, and I'm definitely going to play devil's advocate with you here, my man. You got Russell Wilson checking in. And this is not an indictment on Russell. It's more of an indictment on the offense in general, but go ahead, state your case.
I'm going to state my case because in fantasy football, it's about points. And this team is going to put up points because they have to, Cam. The Seahawks defense is totally depleted, and Russell Wilson last year led the NFL in passing touchdowns with 34. He scored 37 of the Seahawks' 38 touchdowns. Only J.D. McKissick, who the heck is that, scored the other one. And, I mean, when you just look at Russell Wilson and what he can do with his legs, I mean, he always gets, I'm going to say, like over 400 rushing yards. He's got 6 years of over 480 rushing yards. And just like this is a guy who's going to come in and play super well. He doesn't need that great offensive line. Imagine if he would actually get one. It would be great to see. And his pass attempts have increased every single year of his career. 553 pass attempts last year. I see that number getting up to 600. Just based on volume alone, Russell Wilson. He's my number 2. And he was the number 1 quarterback last year.
Sure.
So let's hear it. State your case.
All right, well, Mitch, in the interest of time, I can't, but I'll tell you off air.
Dang.
All right, let's get to number 1 here. Your top selection, Aaron Rodgers, coming off that injury from last year. We saw a little bit of him. What do you make of Aaron?
What do I make of Aaron? 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last year, but in his first 5 games before the injury, Cam, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's a pace for about 41.5 touchdowns for the entire season. Like, Aaron Rodgers, in his last 5 years when he's played 15 or more games, he's averaging 38.6 touchdowns a season. There's a reason why I think he's the most talented quarterback in the league. He's my number 1 quarterback, and I understand that, yeah, Jordy Nelson's not there anymore, but he still got Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams. They drafted 3 guys in the draft. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL right now, and he's my number 1 fantasy QB.
He's definitely going to be up there in terms of pricing on FanDuel.
Oh, yeah.
I think actually your top 3 quarterbacks are going to be highly priced for sure.
For sure.
All right, so that brings us our FanDuel reaction poll. Who's the best fantasy quarterback for the 2018 season? Now, the 2017 FanDuel ranks there. Obviously, Rodgers is at 28 because he was hurt. Tom Brady was number 2. As you mentioned, Russell Wilson was number 1. Are you throwing up your like?
Yeah, I'm giving my like to Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to score the most points in FanDuel, no doubt, this season.
All right, I'm going Rodgers as well. I'm with you on that one. I'm throwing up my like as well, and we invite you guys to do that too. All right, folks, this has been the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. We're signing off here. I'll be back on Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Give me your username, ChatSports, or FanDuel.com/ChatSports. That's how you sign up. For Mitchell Renz, I'm Cam Rogers. We'll see you.